Your Steve Jones Show podcast will start shortly. The Steve Jones Show podcast is sponsored by Brewers Outlet, your beverage supermarket on Reagan Street in Sunbury. Sports talk where your voice counts. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, they have the best selection of beer anywhere. They have plenty of great wine coolers, lots of water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day, and the pickle bar led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. Oh, it's up 70 degrees today. You want beverages? You got a big weekend coming up. Yeah, you got Penn State, Maryland tomorrow. You got Clemson, Notre Dame tomorrow night. Steelers, Cowboys, Bucks, and Saints. Yeah, you just want to kick back and just enjoy, just relax. Just relax, have some fun. So stock up now at Brewers Outlet and start thinking about the holidays as well. At Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. And don't forget, when it's 70-plus degrees, they have 6 great flavors of slushies at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. We're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia, routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. You want to deal with the best, and there are great deals to be had with the best at Sunbury Motors. Time now for our play-by-play call of the day. As expected, the Packers beat the depleted 49ers last night, but it's a lot easier when Aaron Rodgers has Davante Adams to throw to.
High formation backfield, second down and 8, Green Bay. Rodgers pulls back from center, from the pocket, lofts it deep down the left side. Adams makes the adjustment, the catch. He's got it at the pylon. Touchdown! Oh, what a catch by Davante Adams. They beat Emmanuel Mosley. 36-yard touchdown play.
Wayne Larrivee with the call on the Green Bay Packers radio network. Old friend, sounding better than ever. And the Packers go to 6-2 on the season. The 49ers fall to 4-5. All right, it is another big weekend with another big event. There's a lot of college football and NFL going on that dominates the weekend, but the Breeders' Cup is also taking place. I want to get into a little college basketball as well. Joining me, my broadcast partner for Penn State basketball, heading into our 17th season together, Dick Jerardi. DJ, welcome.
Steve, how are you, buddy? It's a long slog to get here, pal, but here we are.
Yeah, here we are. Somehow, some way, a long slog to get here. Okay, so Breeders' Cup. When everybody talks about, obviously, horse racing these days, I'm talking about the casual fan. It's always the Derby, the Preakness, and the Belmont, obviously, and the Triple Crown winner means something. In the world of horse racing, the world that you love so much, what does the Breeders' Cup mean?
It's the Super Bowl of the sport, Steve. Look, the Derby's always going to be the biggest standalone event. Nothing's ever going to top that. But the Breeders' Cup is basically the end of the year championship. So it's the Super Bowl, it's the Final Four, it's all of those things in every sport that you can think of. The NBA Finals, the culmination of everything that's happened. And there are 14 races over 2 days, 5 today, 9 tomorrow, in various divisions. There's 2-year-olds, there's sprinters, there's grass horses, and it all culminates, I think, about 5/18 tomorrow with the Breeders' Cup Classic. It's for 3-year-olds and up, $6 million. Everything is on the line for 2020. Horse of the Year is on the line, bragging rights, and a lot of cash.
Yeah, and I think in the Classic, there are 10 horses, I think, entered, I believe.
That is correct. There's 10 in the race, and to tell you how strong this field is, they've earned a combined $27 million, and we have this year's Derby winner, Authentic.
Yep.
We have last year's Derby winner for 20 minutes, maximum security, before they disqualified him. We have this year's Belmont Stakes winner, Tis the Law, and as good as all of them are, none of them are going to be favored. The favorite is likely to be Improbable. It was actually the post-time favorite in the Derby and the Preakness last year, but the best description of him, Steve, is he's the he's the freshman that's not quite ready, and now he's the senior that's like just taken over. That's kind of improbable. And there's a fifth horse out of the 10 that could also win. Penn State is a 7-year-old. You don't usually see them running still at top form.
Right.
So of the 10, I can make a pretty good case for 5 of them. So it's a great race and a great ending to a bizarre season. But at least this one, unlike the other ones, is being run exactly when it was supposed to be and exactly where it was scheduled to be run.
Could we see a Baffert sweep with improbable, authentic, and maximum security?
Absolutely, yeah. And they're in 8, 9, and 10, improbable, then authentic, and maximum security. So, yeah, it's definitely possible. Now, authentic and maximum security have similar running styles. They'll both be out near the front. Obviously, the trainer will talk to the jockeys and go, hey, look, don't battle each other into submission. That wouldn't make any sense. Improbable is more of a mid-pack to a further back in the pack horse. But, yeah, no, he could run 1, 2, 3. Certainly, Tiz the Law is capable. We saw how good he was running the Belmont and Travers, second in the Derby. His issue here, Steve, to me is the post. He's the 2. And when you watch his replays, he's a horse that really is much more comfortable running outside horses rather than inside. And the jockey, Manny Franco, is going to have a little more difficult time, I think, getting him outside horses because of where all the speed is. It's all to his outside. So it's going to be interesting to see how he does it. And Tom State is probably going to be the horse that's most overlooked, that has the best chance. He hasn't run since August 1st. It's held out of sight, out of mind. But his trainer, Al Stahl, is really good. And he's the guy 10 years ago that brought a horse to the Breeders' Cup Classic named Blame and upset the great Zenyatta, who was going for her 20th straight win.
Wow.
And the only race she ever lost was at Churchill in the Classic 10 years ago. And the trainer of the horse that beat him is Al Stahl, and he's got Tom State tomorrow.
Right, exactly. Just a reminder for all the Penn State fans out there, Tiz the Law, Barkley Tagg. Penn Stater is his trainer.
Indeed. It's a lot of Pennsylvania connections. But, yeah, Barkley's I don't know, his animal, what they call it, animal husbandry or animal science.
Yeah, it
like
sounds
that
right.
Back in the day. But, yeah, he's like either a late 50s or an early 60s Penn State grad. He grew up in Abington, went to Abington High School.
Every track has its own way of doing things. What makes Keeneland a special place to run?
Yeah, I mean, Keeneland's awesome because, I know, Steve, you've been to Lexington. You've been right down the street to Rupp Arena calling games there. And Keeneland's about, 5 miles outside of downtown Lexington, and it's right smack in the middle of horse country. Right next to it is Calumet Farm, which is the most famous horse farm in the history of the sport. I mean, we're talking Citation, Whirl Away, and I could name 50 other champions out of there. And the fact they love the sport. It's really, it's awful that there are no fans because everybody was really looking forward to seeing it. They had it there 5 years ago where American Pharoah made his farewell. It's a neat place. It's got a kind of a country feel. It's a smaller place, much smaller than say Churchill Downs or Belmont Park or Santa Anita. But it's a great place. I mean, I miss not being there, but look, I haven't been anywhere since I was with you in Indianapolis. So, until you got to go out on football 2 weeks ago, you hadn't been anywhere either.
No, it's been crazy. And Keeneland's also a great place, for example, if you want to do a movie scene and include, a dashing leading guy asking questions. Keeneland's a good place to film it.
Yeah, there's no question that Keeneland paddock came in very handy a decade or so ago when Diane Lane was my co-star in Secretariat.
Well said. Well said. All right, I'm going to get to what you want to do with the Classic in a moment. What are a couple of other races that really intrigue you that you're anxious to not just see winners, but also anxious to see what you can do money-wise?
Right. One of them is today, Steve. Later on, it's the Juvenile Fillies. It'll be about mid-afternoon. There's a horse in there called V-Quest who's trained at Parks, and I know the trainer and his wife really well. I've known him for years. And I think she has a big chance. And Parks-based horses have won a Breeders' Cup each of the last 2 years. So there's some history there. And she's very talented. And she won't be the favorite. She's probably going to be 7 or 8 to 1. So that race has some interest. In addition to the Classic tomorrow, the other race that I think is going to draw everybody's interest is the Distaff. That's 2 races before the Classic. we have, I told you we had the Derby and Belmont winner in the Classic. Well, we have the Preakness winner in the Distaff. That's the great 3-year-old filly Swiss skydiver,
right,
who had that incredible stretch duel with Authentic, and the Preakness ends up winning it. And she'll run against the horse. You're going to love this stat. Monomoy Girl, who won this race 2 years ago, has started against 101 horses and has finished in front of 100 of them.
Wow.
Yeah, so she finished second once, and she got disqualified once from first. But, yeah, she's – I mean, that's the kind – you don't see that in horse racing. Horses lose, even like great horses lose. And the American Secretariat lost 4 times.
Yeah.
Got DQ'd once. American Pharaoh lost a couple of times. Horses don't do that, but she's doing it, and she's doing it as an older horse now. She's 5 years old.
How closely do you watch the juvenile with the idea of 21?
Yeah, you have to. I mean, it's 6 months later. Hopefully, right?
Yeah,
we'll be
we hope.
Back
yeah,
in Kentucky.
Might I recommend the first Saturday in May? I think that'd be a good time to run it.
Yeah, no question. That's May 1st of 2021. And look, and you and I were talking about this the other day. Anybody that's trying to make predictions about anything right now, about how this is going to all play out and what we're going to be able to do and not do, is probably running a fool's errand. But that's the plan. So, yeah, you look at that race because 6 months later is the Derby. And there's an undefeated horse in there, Jackie's Warrior, trained by Steve Asmussen, who's going to, sometime in 2021, become the all-time leading trainer in the history of the sport, number of wins. He's closing on 10,000. And Steve has won every big race in the sport, some multiple times, except one.
Yep.
What would that be?
That might be the first Saturday in May.
Yeah, it's the only one he hasn't won. It's the biggest race in the sport, and maybe Jackie's Warrior is good enough. We'll see. We're going to see him later this afternoon in the last race of the day. If he wins and wins impressively, he'll certainly at least head into 2021 as the future book favorite for the Derby.
This is a sport that is as great as it is to be there, and I've been to the track with you. It's really is a great experience, but it's a sport that can obviously, because of the computer and because of OTB, can do well. Any indication how well the sport has done this particular year? Because obviously there's no attendance, but.
Yeah, it was interesting. Through the months of March, April, and May, when, I mean, it literally was the only game going, right? There were no other sports being played. A number of racetracks around the country, most specifically Gulfstream Park in South Florida and Oakland Park in Hot Springs, Arkansas, never stopped. So people that were looking to gamble, and there are people in the U.S. that like to do that and around the world, that was the only game to gamble on. So the numbers were incredible. They were astronomical. Oakland Park set a record handle for the Arkansas Derby, which was actually run on the first Saturday in May on the Kentucky Derby's usual time, a record like a dramatic increase with no fans. Because people could sit at home, you could bet on your phone, bet on the computer. It was actually grandfathered in years ago. I mean, now you can do that in a lot of places. I mean, now with legalized sports betting in a lot of jurisdictions. But before, horse racing was the only sport that could do that. So from that standpoint, Steve, it was good. What wasn't good was the timing. Obviously, the Triple Crown races, TV ratings were down, betting was down. I mean, the Preakness was run on the first Saturday in October. It was the biggest sports weekend of the year.
Right.
The World Series. I don't even think the NBA had ended yet.
No, it had not.
NFL, college football. I mean, it was just everything was going on. So their numbers were down. The Derby's numbers were down. And it wasn't because people don't like it. It's just you're just not used to it there. And the cool thing about May is there really isn't that kind of competition. NFL's long gone. The NBA is just about to start the playoffs. MLB's just starting. So, yeah, just the timing of it really hurt. Obviously, it hurt the attendance because there wasn't any. And it really hurt the handle of the 3 big races this year.
All right, so let's make a trip back to the Classic. I mentioned that the 8, 9, 10 holes were all Baffert horses. That doesn't mean that they'll all be in your mix here. Who is in your mix when it's all said and done in the Classic?
Yeah, I picked Authentic in the paper, and I'm having second thoughts. I think, look, Improbable's the most likely winner of the race. But every once in a while, he'll do something stupid, like he'll miss the break, he'll just act up in the gate, just enough to make you, what if it happens today? He hasn't done that recently, and I've become, in the last few years, because you always look for an edge in anything. I mean, it's like when we're doing our basketball research, we're looking for stuff that other people aren't really thinking about. And there's a lot of really sharp people that watch workouts and understand them. It wasn't my forte. I've gotten into it a lot in the last few years. That's really helped me.
Yeah.
And Improbable had last Sunday what I consider the best workout of any horse since I've been watching.
Okay.
It was phenomenal. And that kind of said, well, whoa. And when backward horses do that, they run right back to it. So I think he's the most likely winner. I do think Authentic has a chance. I'm less bullish on Tis the Law here because he really hasn't beaten a good horse all year. Now he's got to run against the Authentic and the older horses, and I don't like that post position for him.
Right.
And I think I said this earlier. If you're looking for a horse at a price that's probably going to get overlooked a little bit, Tom's d'Etat is that horse. I've always been a Maximum Security fan. I actually picked him in the Derby last year, and then he got DQ'd. I count that as a Derby win. By the way.
You should, because you and I both know he won.
Right, they DQ'd him after the fact. I don't like what I'm seeing. What I've seen from Maximum Security this year. I think that he may have peaked last year. I'm just not seeing it. Could he win? Of course. I mean, he does almost nothing but win. But the other horse I give a chance to is this Tom's d'Etat, because I think he's going to get overlooked in the betting.
Yeah.
And I think he's got about as good a chance as Improbable, not quite as good, but he certainly has a chance. And he hasn't raced since August 1st, so I think people are going to overlook him, and I think that could be a mistake. And
horses are athletes, and you and I have always talked about how each athlete has their own clock, where suddenly, maybe they're not sure of themselves, and all of a sudden the tumblers all fall into place, and away they go. Improbable sounds like that horse, as you said earlier, has gone from looking like a freshman to looking like a junior senior.
No, that's exactly what happened. Let's give you a Penn State basketball human. How about Jeff Brooks?
Yeah, perfect.
That was Jeff Brooks as a freshman, really even into his junior year. And then as a senior, he was one of the best players in the Big Ten. Yeah. So, I mean, look, everybody matures at their own rate. Horses are, in that way, are athletes and not that much different than humans. And some of them, they don't have really the mind for it, the horses at the beginning. They get too crazy. They got to be relaxed. And, now all of a sudden he's just put it together.
One quick basketball note, because we can't let you get out of here without basketball. Ken Pom initial rankings came out. Penn State is 64 in that rating. Going in, they have a tough – you and I – it hasn't been released, but you and I know what the non-conference schedule is.
We do.
Yeah, we do. And but when you look at them – I mean, I watched the scrimmage the other day, Dick. It was bombs away, and you and I both feel that is the way to play.
Yeah, I think, Steve, that running, pressing, shooting threes is going to be the formula because, I'm just thinking about who they lost. They lost an all-timer in Lamar Stevens, an all-time shot blocker, rebounder, 1,000-point scorer in Mike Watkins. So that's going to be the problem is what are they going to do around the rim? They don't have the shot blockers. So it's going to have to be a little bit different style of play, but boy, the talent is there. Wait till you see some of the new guys, including a transfer who's now eligible to play. And I think everybody got a sense of all the wing players from last year, how talented and good they are. So it'll be unique to the league. The league doesn't really play that way. The league, especially last year, was a very much centric league. So the style will be very different, I think, than what we're used to seeing. But you know what? You adapt to your players, and obviously we've had a change in coaching, and I don't know that we need to get into all that other than to say, look, Patrick is a friend of ours, and whatever happened, I don't have any of the particulars on all that went down, but I will just say this. He did a phenomenal job building the program with Keith and Jimmy and the rest of and Ross and the rest of the crew, and deserves credit for getting the program where it's been. But yeah, look, I hope they can pick up where they left off last year. But yeah, did they lose a lot? Of course. Yeah. But a different style of play, and we'll say, look, we're all looking forward to it. Just especially the way the season ended last year. Yep. It just like ended with a thud. It's just like boom. It's like over. We're sitting in. Where were we sitting?
We were at P.F. Chang's.
P.F. Chang's in Indianapolis, and Steve says to me about 11:30. I said, I think we're going to get an email in about 15 minutes post canceling the tournament. I said, really? In 15 minutes, we got an email canceling the tournament.
Yeah.
And the rest is that's it. It was, can we see a basketball game? There hadn't been any since.
And we'll see one November 25th. So it's
yeah, I mean, it's hard to believe it's not. I mean, today is November the 6th.
Yeah,
right? So
the opener would have been Seton Hall on the 10th.
Okay,
so it would have been next week.
Yeah. So they postponed the season by 2 weeks, and look, we know the season is going to start, and do we know what the future is going to hold and how it's going to play out? No, we're all in uncharted territory. Nobody knew there wasn't going to be a Nebraska-Wisconsin football game last weekend either, did they?
Exactly. That's why you and I talked last week, and we said the goal was to play a game. The second goal is to play a second game. The third goal is to play a third game. So that's where we are in today's life.
Yeah, I think any game is a good game, and especially for these players and what they've obviously had to deal with here in the preseason, and with now a new head coach, and you just want them to have a chance to go out and enjoy themselves and have fun, and it's just a great group. I mean, I think everybody that watched them play last year knew that.
Dick, enjoy the racing. I know I will. I will record the Classic because it's going to be opposite my game tomorrow. So
you have something else going on?
I have something else going on tomorrow I'll have to take care of.
Yeah, it's your alma mater versus my alma mater, and we're only 240-1 against Penn State, so maybe we're due, but I don't think so.
And by the way, the great Johnny Holiday wants me to say hi to you. So
yeah, the Johnny is the greatest of all time. Nobody. The man should have a one-man show telling stories about things he's seen and done in his life.
It's unbelievable. It's unbelievable.
It is unbelievable.
Dick, thank you, sir.
All right, Steve. I'll see you in a few weeks.
What a lineup today, huh? J.J. Cooper on Baseball America, Dick Jerardi, and still the king. We finally will reach the crescendo. Brought to you by Brewers Outlet and News Radio 1070 WKOK.
Party time, game time, or just fun time. Doesn't matter what time it is because it's Brewers Outlet time. The beverage supermarket has the area's largest beer selection. Imports, microbrews, ciders, and domestics. Pick from over 100 ice-cold 12-packs and dozens of 24-ounce singles. Soda, snacks, hot sauces, fresh roasted peanuts. Make it one-stop party shopping, and don't forget the pickle bar. So whatever you're celebrating or just doing it up, Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury wants to see you. And thank you for your years of patronage.
Taking your calls at 800-795-9565. This is the Steve Jones Show on News Radio 1070 WKOK. Now from the Sunbury Motors Studio, here's Steve Jones.
Today's show brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. Imports, domestics, microbrews, best selection of beer anywhere. Wine coolers, water, soft drinks, snacks. They roast their peanuts fresh and hot every day in the pickle bar. Led by the barrels and the dills, indeed second to none. And when it's 70 degrees, you want not just one, but 6 different flavors of slushies to choose from. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. You know what? It's November 6th. It's time to start thinking about stocking up for the holidays. Absolutely. Do it. All at Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street in Sunbury, the beverage supermarket. We're in the Sunbury Motors studio. Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf. And online at sunburymotors.com. Ford, Lincoln, Kia, Hyundai, great pre-owned inventory. Great deals to be had. All at Sunbury Motors, 4th Street in Sunbury. Sunbury Motors, Kia routes 11 and 15 in Hummel's Wharf, and online at sunburymotors.com. And with that, Matt, I will allow you to make the introduction of the week's most interesting guest.
Well, he went 5-3 last week. He's back below 500, but he's dangerous at any time. That'd be the king.
What did I do last week?
You went 5-3 last week. I went 7-1. Steve had a perfect 8-0 record.
Yeah, I'm just filling them in now. Well, la-di-da.
So you, sir, are 28 and 29. Steve is 32 and 25, and I am continuing to be the lead dog at 35 and 22.
Wow, I'm 7 games behind you. What's Steve?
Steve is, I have him at 32 and 25.
Yeah, that's correct. Well, good. So, Steve, is
Yes,
the
sir.
state done counting votes yet, or what? We're all sitting around here waiting.
Well, there was a period of now Baird
Trying to
and
figure out why it
Okay.
takes Florida
I
to
know.
finish at 9 o'clock on election night, and the rest of these blue states can't get their act together.
You are so correct. But Baird and Selinsgrove had the line of the day.
Yes, he did.
He sent us a message saying that he has inside information that the reason they stopped counting in Philadelphia is that several of the poll workers are so mad about Carson Wentz's turnovers they want to call in the WIP and complain about it, then go back to counting ballots. Baird, that was beautiful
Yes,
work,
it was.
Baird. That was beautiful, Baird.
Who is a fellow Eagles fan, by the way.
Yes, he is.
Oh.
Yes, he is. Yeah.
So did some guy came in here today. He listens to the show sometimes, my friend Jim, and he said, what happened to Penn State's coach? Did he get in trouble? And I said, I don't think so. Did he get in any trouble?
You're talking about Patrick Chambers. We've gone through this. I don't really want to get too much into it.
No, I'm just asking him. But
So
the head
they
coach
changed
or one of the coaches?
They changed the head basketball coach. In fact, Dick and I referenced it at the end. We both think the world of Patrick. And,
He's been there a while.
Yeah, 10 years. Did really, in my opinion, a fabulous job. But I don't know. I don't really want to get too much into it because
No, you don't have to. I just, my gosh, if it wasn't for the pandemic, you'd have been in the big dance.
yeah, I know. I know. Yeah.
Wow.
So we're pushing forward with an interim basketball coach, and they will go through the they'll go through the process of seeing if he's the right person or if they should go with somebody else. So I'm gonna.
Right.
So I'll play the
leave it at
game
that.
on
I just that clarifies. It wasn't football; it was basketball. I can look it up on my own. So okay, carry on.
My
I am like
wayward
all
son.
over Hallmark movies. I can't watch the news. I can't, Big Brother's done. And what are you going to do? But the Hallmark movies are great. You know what Hallmark's doing? They're using Broadway actors and actresses in some of the movies to give them jobs. That's pretty cool.
That's smart.
That's smart. Yeah. Very smart.
Oh, yeah, Broadway shut down at least until spring. New York City is a ghost town. There's absolutely nothing going on there, and it's sad. Our state, Massachusetts, has a mandatory now curfew, okay? If you're outside after 10 o'clock, it's a $500 fine. If you don't have a mask on, no matter what, like if you leave Walmart or Home Depot, whatever, and you take your mask off and walk through the parking lot, it's a $500 fine. Welcome, Joe Biden. Here we go. Communism, socialism, the whole 9 yards. It's what's going to happen. They think they can control us, and it's crazy. So Connecticut has the same thing. We have a $100 fine if we don't have a mask on, and we have to be in at 10 o'clock at night. Restaurants that are closed by 9:30, and all the restaurants went back to phase 2. And I can't tell you how cruel that is. So these guys invested a fortune making plastic separators for their restaurants so they could go to 75%, and then the governor came in and wiped it right out. Said, well, that's the way it goes. Yeah. By December 25th, Christmas, half the restaurants here that are left will be gone. They'll go out of business.
Wow, it's awful.
It's awful, and I don't get it. I don't get it. You cannot destroy this economy. It's not going to recover. And I get wearing the mask. Just wear the mask, but we're full-grown adults. We don't need you to, I'm 61 years old, and I have to be in at 10. Doesn't affect me. I'm asleep by 8, but it's not. I don't like being told what to do at all.
Yeah, that's what Mom said.
Can you imagine her?
Oh,
she'd be so pissed off right now. She'd be freaking railing. She'd be like, she would be off the wall. Yeah. How about Dad?
Oh, Dad! Wow.
Did you see Dad wearing a mask?
Oh no, I don't know. I can't. Yeah, no, I'm not going to wear this stupid thing.
Oh, he started huffing and puffing, and he keeps forgetting it and losing it. And then somebody would kick him out of the store, and he'd have a meltdown. And Matt, he's a big dude. He went about 300 pounds. He had a temper on him, boy.
Oh, boy.
Oh, yeah. He was good man. Wonderful human being. He'd give you the shirt off his back, but don't cross him.
Nope.
Which I did many times. Many times.
Except for a couple of occasions, I was pretty good at not crossing him. So, except for a couple of occasions.
He liked you.
So what you're saying is Steve was the favorite.
It's funny that the suit said the same thing. We'll come back with more in a moment as we get to our picks next here on News Radio 1070 WKOK, brought to you by Brewers Outlet. The other guy's way, and then there's the SMC way. The other guys force you into a vehicle you really don't want. The Sunbury Motors way lets you take the time you need to browse, ask questions, and take the test drive and think on it. For over 100 years, the Mertz family and all their employees have made your experience the most pleasant one you'll ever have. The other guys won't offer you the best price for your trade, no matter how much they say they will. The SMC way is their promise to provide you with the most money the market shows your vehicle is worth. The SMC way is to offer you all applicable factory rebates on new vehicles and generous discounts. Looking for a pre-owned vehicle? The SMC way checks each vehicle in a 200-mile radius to determine the lowest price, then beat it. It's the lowest price promise, just part of the SMC way. The choice is up to you. The other guy's way or the SMC way. The SMC way wins every time. Sunbury Motors Company in the North 4th Street Auto Plaza, Sunbury, and at sunburymotors.com. Selling more cars and satisfying more customers for over 100 years. All right, here we go. Pick'em time.
Mr. 8-0.
Oh, yeah, I get one good week.
All right, well, let's start with you, Steve. We got Baltimore and Indy.
Well, it's not a big game. So since it's not a big game, Lamar Jackson actually might perform well. Well, sir, I mean, look.
No, you're right.
That's a good way to look at it.
The last 3 big games he's played in, Tennessee, Kansas City, Pittsburgh. He has 4 touchdown passes and 8 turnovers, 4 picks and 4 fumbles. They'll beat Indy by 10 points.
I got Baltimore as well. King?
I got Indianapolis. I watched Baltimore play, and he is uninspired. So
you are loving Indy this year.
Maybe he's one who thrives on the crowd. I got Indy.
You have picked Indy in almost every time we've picked them this year. You love the Colts this year.
That's why I'm under 500. I have to take a different one. I want to catch up. I got to get lucky. No, I already wrote them in before. I didn't know what you guys were taking. I think Indy's going to win the game. At home, that crowd is wild.
All right, next game, new game. Seattle at Buffalo. King.
I got Seattle. Buffalo is kind of taking a step down.
Steve.
I'm going to go with Buffalo. Now, it's not the sexy pick because Russell Wilson is so good. I mean, he is the MVP this year. But with Buffalo playing at home, this is a gut feeling. And we'll find out if my gut's worth anything.
Well, guess what? I have that same gut feeling. Not only this, but again, Seattle's defense still is having their problems, and Russell Wilson's had to do a lot of rescuing this year. That's a good defense they're playing on the road. And Josh Allen, he hasn't been playing great, but he's still got some weapons. They got a decent run game. I think Buffalo sneaks one here and gets a sneaky W, too. I agree with Steve.
I mean, I know Josh Allen's not playing great. I got it, but this
is a trap game for Seattle, I think.
I don't believe in that stuff. I don't believe in trap games. All right? It's like, that's a media whatever. I just don't believe. I've done a billion of them. I don't feel trapped.
This is the first time I've taken Seattle this year.
That's right.
So you guys are in a good spot.
All right.
Okay.
Now, an NFC least battle. The NY Giants and the Washington football team. Steve.
I'll take the Giants. Let's see. Are we allowed to pick how many turnovers Daniel Jones will have?
Sure. What's the over-under?
I mean, really, brutal. Brutal. I'll still take the Giants.
King.
I got the Giants. I think the Giants are playing well, and they're playing hard under the coach. They're playing hard. So they both stink, so that's why I took the game.
Oh, the division is brutal. I mean,
they could be in first place if they win, you know.
When teams get ready for the Eagles outside of the NFC East, all they practice is the kneel down.
Yeah. Good job. Good job.
So, with that, while you both are correct that the Giants are playing better, they still can't hang on to a lead. So, out of spite of that, and I just don't think anybody but the Eagles are good enough to sweep anybody in this division, I'm taking Washington.
Well, the Eagles aren't going to sweep Washington, I can tell you that.
Well, exactly. Other than Washington. But I hope the Giants win, because I think Washington is the probably the only way the Eagles lose this division. They're the Eagles' only threat, so to speak. So I'd like to see them lose, but I'm picking Washington.
Good.
All right.
Great.
Good luck.
Great. Good for you.
Sunday night football. A much better game. New Orleans and Tampa Bay. Steve.
I'm going to take Tampa Bay in this one. I know New Orleans won the first time. I think Tampa Bay's playing better now. Antonio Brown will be the focus of the pregame show, the halftime show, the postgame show, and the whole thing. And in reality,
he ain't going to do nothing.
No.
Yeah. King.
Tom, terrific. Tampa Bay.
Well, I'm on an island again. I'm going to New Orleans here. I don't feel great. I don't feel real great about this, but I just need to see a little bit more consistency from Tampa Bay, kind of offensively, and then defensively. Alvin Kamara smoked them in the pass game, and I think that's going to be a difference again in this one too. So I'm taking New Orleans.
And let's be honest about it. I mean, Drew Brees has been consistent. He consistently throws the ball 5 yards.
True. Yes. I still take him. I'm going to stick with New Orleans here. And then finally,
Challenge football.
That's right.
And just so you know, Daniel Jones is listening to all this right now. So
wonderful.
Along with little Junie.
Good. If he wins, I'll be happy with him.
No, she just had her birthday last Saturday.
Real Daniel Jones. Cool.
Oh.
The real Daniel Jones. You are just so cruel. Okay, when your team is under 500 and in first place, you have become a mean man.
Right.
It's been that kind of year, but, you know.
The strangest year ever.
Yeah. Well, we'll get to my other football team, ND, in a little bit, but first, game that's tonight.
Oh, they're not going to win. They're not going to win. Cut me a break.
But tonight, we got BYU and Boise State. King.
BYU, baby.
You know what? I'm big on Wilson. I think Wilson has helped himself in a draft stock, and I think he's really good. I think BYU is going to win the game on the Smurf turf.
I got BYU as well. Big Ten battle.
Just remember, the Ducks don't like that turf. They fly straight into it. They think it's a pond.
Like windmills.
Yeah.
All right, Big Ten battle. Michigan and Indiana. Steve.
Indiana. I think that this is a statement. This is one of those where Michigan's the favorite on reputation.
I agree, and not only that, I think IU wins outright. I think they stomp on Michigan this week, because Michigan is a fraudulent team once again this year.
Yeah, Michigan stinks. I got Indiana.
There we go. All right, number 5, Georgia. Number 8, the Florida Gators. Steve.
All right, Florida, great offense, mediocre defense. Georgia, great defense, mediocre offense. I'm going to take the offense. I'm going to go with Florida to beat them.
All right, I like it. Steve, or King, rather.
Yeah, I took Florida. I was so unimpressed with Georgia, the game I saw. The quarterback play is not very good at all. I got Florida.
Well, I'm on an island again. I'm going Georgia. I like their defense better. I think their defense is going to play better than their offense and get a couple turnovers on Florida's offense. So I'm going.
Well, I'll tell you right now, if you beat me in every game, I'm going to have to start picking like colors. What colors are uniform?
At the racetrack, I love the Silks.
I like red better than blue. I'll pick them.
All right. Now the premier game of the week. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish face number 1 Clemson without Trevor Lawrence. King, who do you got?
Rudy. I got Notre Dame.
There you go.
Steve?
This is where I want to give Notre Dame a lot of credit. When you watch them play, they don't wow you, because I think they play smart football, and they the old cliche, they don't do things to beat themselves. They don't get bad penalties. They don't turn it over. They're kind of like the baseline tennis player that keeps hitting the ball back, and then all of a sudden you make a mistake and hit it into the net. So I give them a lot of credit for that. But in this game, I think Clemson has too much, and I think Travis Etienne becomes a huge factor in this game at running back. I think Clemson, 10 points, they win it at Notre Dame. I just think they have better talent.
Well, this is not a homer pick. I'm thinking about this objectively, but I think DJ Uiagalelei, I almost got that right, I think, is in for a rude awakening, because this linebacking core is deep for Notre Dame, and they are the X factors in this game. I think they're going to do enough to slow down Etienne. I think he still will get his yards, but I think the Notre Dame linebackers are going to make a couple of big plays, get a couple good sacks on DJ, and then Notre Dame wins a close game, one-score game. I'm taking the Irish.
Did you hear the rumor that the Patriots are talking about, and Peter King is on this, trading Bill Belichick to get the number 1 pick so the Patriots can get Trevor Lawrence? You hear about that?
No, I haven't heard that.
It's about the dumbest thing I've ever heard in my life, but an unproven player for a 6-time Super Bowl coach.
Well, when it comes to Notre Dame and Clemson and Matt, one of the great sports philosophers ever was the great Ivan Drago from Rocky IV.
You will lose.
There we go.
You will lose.
On that note,
today's show's been brought to you by Brewers Outlet, Reagan Street, Sunbury, the Beverage Supermarket.